Okay, sir, could you please give us your first name, middle initial, and last name? Spell your last name for us, please.
Marcus John Mainz, M-A-I-N-Z.
Okay, and the date for the interview is February 9th, 2008. The location of the interview is 29 Palms, California, Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. The unit that we're going to discuss is Lehman Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. The interviewers are Yano Aceto and Douglas Halpaska. Please, sir, would you just give us the dates for the time period, your billet, and your rank at that time, sir?
Dates for the time period being February 15th. Rank at that time was a captain in the Marine Corps. I will be, until now, still captain of and Lima Company commander.
And we've asked you to consider the following question. We are looking for evidence in support of the argument that the Marine Corps and Lima 3-7 made the transition from 3rd generation state versus state maneuver warfare to 4th generation non-state versus state advanced counterinsurgency warfare. And we've asked you to reference the CAX debrief format for some ideas on 3rd generation warfare, and then the discussion of ACF, anti-coalition force, strengths and weaknesses for 4th generation warfare thoughts. What topics in your tour with Lima 3-7 in Iraq best illustrate this transition? And then we've asked you to, generally outline some of those topics, and then what we'd like to do is begin with your own personal background, education, your experience in doctrine, especially the generations of warfare with Mr. Lind, in relations with Major Schwartz before you took command.
Okay, as far as background, grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Did a lot of athletics at a young age, being, the old version of, if you had the, attention deficit disorder, we just put you in more sports, was the philosophy back then. So latched on to wrestling, eventually, went through state, and then went to several colleges due to inability to successfully complete them. I actually, went to one school for wrestling and didn't do well academically there, and then left, coached wrestling for a while at the high school level, and then got recruited back to college for the last time. At that college, very successful. We won 2 national titles as a team. I won an individual national title. And that really was the key that led me to the Marine Corps, to believe it or not. When we won that first national title as a team, that was one of the best institutions I'd ever been a part of in my life. And I made a decision then that I wanted to be with an institution that had that kind of brotherhood in it all the time. And so I wanted something different for PT, so I went to OCS one year. Liked it, thought it was awesome, loved the attitude of self-sacrifice, give for your, you're no longer important, it's given for everybody else around you. And fell in love with the Marine Corps right then, and knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I joined the Marine Corps for the people. Was really, I think that was the driving factor, and the idea of my personal philosophy in life is I want to leave the earth giving more than what I've took. That's the personal philosophy that I've always really wanted to follow. And so the Marine Corps offered me that opportunity. That okay, I think in this environment I'll give more than I take. So from there, joined the Marine Corps. April of '99 is when I showed up. I started in 95, July 95, 96, I think. July 96 when I started OCS. Showed up so jacked up, it's not even funny. What I like to say is to show people how jacked up I was in the Marine Corps. I showed up with the wrong size of bars on my freaking utilities. That's how no military background, because there's no CS kids, so you were just you just came every summer and they'd beat you up and then send you away.
So you went through PLC?
Yeah, I went through PLC program.
That's all right.
And so totally jacked up. It was awesome. And so just that jacked up. Yeah. But had just a fervor and a love for what we were doing, and didn't know what I wanted to do. Thought MPs, because I was a criminal justice and a psychology major, or a criminal justice major and a psychology minor. And so, like MPs, I think that's what I want to do. I don't know, and then like found out what the infantry was. And I was like, man, that's it. Like there's where I want to be. Just I can take a lot of pain. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy the thought process that's going on here. So joined the infantry. My SPC at the time was a guy by the name of Major Boyce, who would eventually move over to IOC. And then when I went to IOC, I met a guy by the name of Captain Schruffler. And what I specifically remember at IOC, like, everybody has snapshots of suffering that they remember. Like that's like your, especially as an infantryman, like you always key off on those snapshots of shared suffering is what I called it, and that became a philosophy of mine later on. I remember us sitting out just freezing our asses off, like waiting for this range to start. I mean, we're just fucking freezing.
What months did you go through IOC?
December. So November, December time frame.
Right.
So we were when we were toast. And like I remember it being so cold. Like when you did the mop gear exchange, you put your pack in, you take it out. By the time you got your uniform, your mop gear off, your pack would be frozen. So it was awesome. And I remember out there just freezing. And people got their beanies on and they're cocooning up, and like a captain comes out of the blue and is like, "You pussies, get your blood out, beep beep beep," just like insulting us and shaming us to take off gear. And and then he got back in his car, and like the bitterness of that cause. But then came this other captain, real slow, walking up, like, "Hey gentlemen, like let me teach you how to wear your gear. And like understand how your gear works and why a Gore-Tex needs to be worn at this time and why this needs to be worn at this time and how to layer your gear and understand how to get comfortable and understand the ramifications of what you look like, to your Marines and how you can be comfortable, but you don't have to look, like you're cocooning up." And so he explained all this to us and it was awesome. And I remember thinking, man, that's the guy I want to be like.
So George Schruffler's demeanor was in marked contrast to the other IOC instructors.
Not all of them, but like Captain Schruffler was the consummate teacher. Like you felt like you were his little brother. You know what I mean? That was the thing. He was always teaching you,
okay.
and always in the sense of a little brother. And it didn't help that 99% of the time he was right. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what was so awesome about him. And so I remember at that time, like, that was Major Boyce, or then at the time Captain Boyce, he was my SPC, so I wanted to emulate him also. But I remember, like, Major Schruffler then Captain Schruffler is who I wanted to be.
So the instructor-to-student ratio at IOC is 9 captains to a class of 40.
Roundabouts, yes. Yeah. And a lot of good guys there. I mean, really a lot of good guys. But he was the one that I remember wanting to be like, from that time on. That was the time when I was like, that's the guy I want to be like. Always.
Which is interesting because Captain Neal also had Captain Schruffler as an instructor at IOC, and he says that he wanted to emulate that role model also. And then both of you would end up taking command of Lima Company after Captain Schruffler had commanded Lima Company. And so how were you becoming interested in Marine doctrine? You've talked a little bit about the ink blot idea, which is a part of counterinsurgency doctrine. You became familiar with Mr. Lind and combined action platoons, and urban cap was a question mark.
Okay. Here was the conundrum basically we were in, being at IOC, and as I progressed, I went to 2-7 as a lieutenant, so I was out here before as a